What it is with y'all? It's your boy MGZ coming at y'all with another video. And in today's video, we got Elvis Presley with In the Ghetto. Now, this was a highly requested one after I reacted to If I Can Dream by Elvis. And when I reacted to that one, that was the first time I had ever actually sat down and listened and reacted to Elvis Presley. And I know that might sound crazy because Elvis Presley is considered the king. He was a superstar. But me growing up, I was never into, old school music. My parents always told me how good it was, blah, blah, blah. And I was just, I guess ignorant at the time. But, really listening to that song, I had a lot of thoughts and, emotions. And I had a lot to say about that song. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave the link down below or you can find it on my channel. But we got Elvis Presley with In the Ghetto, which was highly requested. So I'm excited to get into this one. Now, if you're new to this channel, we have to all sorts of music, songs, groups, and artists. So be sure to hit that sub button. Let's check out what Elvis got with In the Ghetto.
As the snow flies on a cold and gray Chicago morning, a poor little baby child is born in the ghetto. And his mama cries. But if there's one thing that she don't need, it's another hungry mouth to feed in the ghetto. Now people, don't you understand? The child needs a helping hand. You're gonna be an angry young man someday. Now take a look at you and me. Are we too blind to see? Or do we simply turn our heads and look the other way? Well, the world turns. And a hungry little boy with the runny nose plays in the street as a cold wind blows in the ghetto. And his hunger burns. So he starts to roam the streets at night, and he learns how to steal and he learns how to fight in the ghetto. Then one night in desperation, the young man breaks away. He buys a gun, he steals a car, he tries to run, but he don't get far, and his mama cries. As a crowd gathers round an angry young man face down in the street with a gun in his hand in the ghetto. And as the young man dies on a cold and gray Chicago morning, another little baby child is born in the ghetto. And his mama cries.
That was a short one, but that was very impactful. Now, let's break it down. Let's break it down because I got a lot to say. That was a very powerful song. And one second, y'all. I don't know what's getting into me, bro. I just got over a cold and it seems like I got another one coming on. But listen. In this song, Elvis broke down, the repetitive cycle. And I'm not going to say I'll say the black community, and I know this happens everywhere, right? I know this happens everywhere, but when you look at, North America in specific, and the reason why I'm bringing up North America, I know this happens all over the world, is because I feel like me living in, North America this is what I see. I'm speaking on what I see and experiences and everything like that, right? Now, it's a continuous cycle down there, right? You have these single mothers, you have these single black mothers who are left to raise kids on their own, whether it's 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids. One single mother cannot control and raise, 4 or 5 different kids at the same time. It becomes a lot. Think about you right? And your situation right now, you know, some of you guys might be able to raise, you know, 4 or 5 different kids, feed kids, be able to go to work, you know, put your kids through school if they want to do sports, all sorts of things, you know. Now, don't worry, this is getting deeper. This is just, I'm just touching on the subject right here. Now, the father in a kid's life is so important, you know, just as important as having a mother in your life. I personally believe that when one is missing, the kid's obviously missing a part of themselves. Me, I'm fortunate to, you know, have both parents in my life, you know, and I grew up in a loving home. I grew up with, you know, everything that I needed, right? Anything I wanted, for the most part, I could get, but, you know, there was always go get it yourself. You know what I'm saying? Go work, do this, blah, blah, blah. Point is, I grew up in a, you know, in a home with my family. Whereas some of my friends and, you know, some of these other people, they don't get the, you know, the privilege to grow up with a mom or a dad in their life. And it does weigh heavy on the kid. And when you don't have that structure, you don't have that guidance, it leads you to, you know, start doing things that, you know, you shouldn't be doing. You start wanting to feel wanted. You start wanting to feel, you know, a part of something. And this is when you start getting wrapped up in gangs, because you know what they call them, the OGs, right? The OG members, you know, the grown members in a gang, they become like your father. They become like your dad. You know, they're giving you all this money. They're giving you all this information, this game advice on how to, you know, stay solid in the streets, all these different ways to make money. And you get wrapped up in it and you think, oh, this is the way to live. You know, you start slanging guns, you know, going and involving yourself in gang activity. You're killing people, you know, you robbing stores, you doing all this type of stuff until one day it comes back to you, you get killed. Then what? Your mom's crying because she just lost her son. She just lost her daughter, you know, to some gang violence. And that's something she never wanted, you know, that's a mother's worst fear, you know. And the other part to that is, you know, I think that there's a lot of, okay, trust me, you guys, I could sit here and talk all day on my thoughts on, you know, the black community. I'm half black. You guys, you know, you gotta understand that I see it from both sides, you know, and I believe that there is still a lot of immaturity in, you know, the black community. And don't get me wrong, at the end of the day, we are all one. We are all one. That's how I see it. We should love one another. But the amount of violence that we incite on each other is insane. You know, for what, 13% they make up 13% of the United States, man. And they're always, you know, going after each other. Now, where was I going with this? Okay, so yes, when you make that argument that you can make that argument that, you know, inequality, all sorts of things, they were pushed into the projects, the hoods, you know, low housing incomes, all that type of stuff, right? I want to disagree with you. However, there has to be a change at some point. You know what I mean? The cycle has to break eventually. You can't keep going back to playing victim. And at some point, you have to take accountability, right? These single mothers need to understand that a lot of these guys that they're messing with, they're not good people. You know what I mean? They're just here to have their night of fun and then they're out. You know, so at what point do you put a stop to that? At what point do you put an end to that? It's a reoccurring cycle. You can just see it. Like, I'm putting the blame on everybody. Everybody's to blame for this, right? From the mom and the dad, you know, in specific. If you are a woman, and this is no attack on women at all, but this is based on this song. I'm rambling. I don't know if you guys are still here or not, but listen, if you're a woman and you have friends who became pregnant, right? And you saw them struggle, their man left. What makes you think that things are going to be different for you? Do you really think that you can find true love in the hood? That's an honest question, because history shows that you can't. They're going to disappear. And then you're going to have a kid who grows up angry without a dad, just like Elvis said, you know, who starts turning to the wrong things, who starts trying to find their way at life, make their way at life, and then they get killed. And then here comes another baby. And it's just a problem over and over and over. So at what point does the cycle break? And I know I'm talking like it's so easy to and whatnot. And I know it's not easy. But at some point things have to change. You understand what I'm saying? So all in all, for a 2 minute and 41 second song, Elvis really did break it down, and he did his thing with that. But I could go on and on and on, and with this one forever. But another thing I wanted to touch on too was, I saw somebody in the comments one time say something, ask me something, if I support the Black Lives Matter movement and whatnot. And I've talked about this plenty of times on this channel. I don't, and my reasons for it, I've explained it many times, but like I said, at the end of the day, right, we are all one. We all got to learn to love each other and be as one. There's going to be war all over the world, but you cannot sit here and create a movement and try to enforce a movement onto people when you are the people doing it to yourselves. You understand what I'm saying? The way I look at people, the way I look at life, I love everyone. I have respect for everybody. You know what I mean? But don't come to me telling me Black Lives Matter, blah, 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 reverse racism doesn't exist, because I'm not buying that. I've been someone who's been able to have multiple opportunities. I'm someone who, has always, my respect. I feel like my respect, and for other people has took me a long way. Being a good person has took me a long way in life. It's the people who are always looking to instigate, race wars and race bait, all sorts of stuff. Those are the people who are never going to advance in life. They're just stuck in this, cell. You have to realize, man, a lot of these movements that, are being pushed onto people nowadays is really just a way to divide people even more. Because now you got your BLM movement, and then you have this other movement, and it's just like clashing. You think that, BLM's supposed to unite everybody, but who's it really uniting? Right? Who did it unite? And then at the end of the day, those people that were, those big organizers, those founders and everything, they pocketed all that money. And they said that the woman, one of the women who was, fundraising for it and raising all this money, she ended up moving into a neighborhood with all white people. So what kind of hypocritical stuff is that? You know what I mean? I'm not somebody who supports movements. I'm someone who supports other people. You know what I mean? Love one another. But at the end of the day, if you're a young person watching this, you someone of my age, 20, 21, 22, don't, find your love. And when you're ready to have kids, go have kids. But don't be messing around, putting yourselves in positions, to give a kid, a worse life. But that's what I'm going to leave it at there. I know I did a lot of rambling about that off a 2-minute video, but, let me know your thoughts. I could go a lot deeper, but I'm like literally just sitting here, trying to freestyle and put words together and stuff. So we're just going to leave it off there. Like I said, I talk about this stuff in a lot of my other reactions. So if you're new to this channel, be sure to hit that like button. So they chat if you're new. It's your boy MGZ signing out.